Welcome to Only the Greatest Podcast, where we explore the vital connection between fitness and success in all areas of life. We are your hosts, Daryl,
Philip,
Sean,
and our goal is to help you become the greatest version of yourselves.
and this show is brought to you by our one and only sponsor, which is ourself, OTG Fitness. OTG Fitness is our private personal training gym on the south side of Houston in Webster, Texas. You can learn more by visiting otgfitness.com or searching OTG Fitness on any social media platform.
if you happen to find any value in this show, all we ask is that you leave a quick review and mention specifically what helped you out. If you're listening in on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you think may need to hear this.
We're just a couple guys that found life-changing benefits from fitness, and we want to share that with the world. So every single like, mention, and review really does mean so much to us. Help us grow the show and everything OTG is about by sharing with somebody today.
Today.
Right now.
You can share it tomorrow too.
Next week?
You could, but also today.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's got to be twice.
Yeah, it's got to be at least twice.
It's got to be twice.
Right.
So nice, you got to share it twice.
Oh, can we get some applause?
Yeah, man.
Dang.
Yeah, I got it.
The crowd?
Very nice. Very nice.
All right, man. So I'm on a new side today. I'm rocking headphones number one. And I just want to dive straight into this because I like it. Phil sent it out earlier. This is actually a OG Sean original idea.
Yeah.
And I like this a lot. We got some talking points here, but we'll dive straight into it, man. So the topic is fitness is fair. And then it says it basically fitness is fair - you get out what you put in. And I think that this is very important to talk about with especially anybody who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with it, somebody who's maybe newer to the space. And it sounds super cliche, but we're going to dive into this first topic or this first bullet point. So you get out what you put in. Yep. And the bullet point is be honest with yourself. Don't be upset when deep down you know something wasn't on program.
And that specific thing is actually really good for someone that's advanced as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Or someone maybe that's been doing it for a while.
Yep.
Maybe they got some results in the beginning. Maybe they're 6, 12, 18 months in, or maybe multiple years in as well. And because you have to remember that we hear people say all the time that they're upset about this thing. It's not working, this, that, or the other. And when we just sit down and actually talk, have a real conversation in the quiet with no other distractions, we dig real deep. We actually find out that oftentimes there are little nuances that aren't actually going as planned. But because we're human beings, we often find ourselves justifying or making up small things.
Say we're biased in favor of ourselves.
That's a really good way to put it.
And this one touches me because I'm many years into this fitness space, right? It's been a roller coaster. There's been ups and downs. There's been times when I was really on it, times when I really wasn't. But you know, like when I'm going through one of those times which earlier this year I was just coasting. And I was telling myself and others, maybe even Phil, I haven't really been getting the results, that I want and this and that. And I was kind of like discouraged by it. But when I really step back and look at the big picture, I knew deep down that I wasn't, following my diet exactly the way that I should. I wasn't training in an exact regimen that I should have been, that I know, because I've done this before. I've went from really lean, and I've been really lean, really strong. I understand what it takes to get to those levels, and I wasn't doing all that. But since it wasn't coming to me easily, I was making an excuse, and I was being biased in favor of myself, saying, well, poor me, I'm trying and it's not working. Bullshit.
Yeah. And the most common thing that we see here is your, I guess you would call it a weekend binging, weekend warrior type where, Monday through Friday, you do really well. Yep. But then the weekends, it kind of falls apart.
And that's been me quite a bit. I've done that quite a bit in my life.
It happens to a lot of people, and it's okay. You just need to be honest and know that that's what's going on, because 5 out of 7, well, in baseball, that's real good. But in our situation here, unfortunately, it's not. It's about if you're on on a grade, if you were to give yourself a grade, 5 out of 7 is about a 70.
Yeah, you're getting about a 70.
Yeah, you're just barely getting by.
You got to see.
Yeah, you got to see.
At best, you're probably going to maintain
That's right.
what you have at that rate. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the flip side to this, though, is that when you're putting your goals together and deciding what you are going to commit to, make sure it's actually something that's realistic and that you're going to be able to follow through with. Don't set yourself up with these huge, unrealistic expectations and then get mad at yourself when you can't do them.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with that too, especially the beginners, right?
Sure. And I like the follow up here. So to go along with this is be careful trying to put in an equal level of effort or whatever it is, or time that as someone who's not necessarily in your same position. Right. You see these professional bodybuilders getting all these great results and winning shows or whatever. That's their life. That's what they do for a living. They're putting in the time and the work and whatever else it takes to get there. And that's just one extreme example.
Right.
But
it's a very popular example.
Very popular.
Yeah, very popular example.
It's very common for people to go, to compare themselves to so-and-so when so-and-so lives a completely different life than they live overall. And maybe in some ways good and in some ways bad, depending on which direction you're looking at it from. But nonetheless, it's not going to be the same if you're not in the same position as somebody.
Yeah. And there's a lot of factors in here, genetics come into play, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, but just your overall lifestyle, your past, your present, and everything comes into play here. So you should be very careful about comparing yourself and what works for someone else and comparing that to what works for you. If you're listening to this and you have kids, or if you're listening to this and, your job is very demanding, at minimum, I'm putting in 60 hours. And then when I go home, I'm still thinking about work. Like, you can't compare yourself to the person that clocks in at 8, clocks out at 5, is off weekends. Like it's just not, not, you can't make that comparison. Right. So just because it worked for them, doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And everything. So we'll jump into this next one too. And it goes right along with what we said previously is what works for somebody else may work differently for you for those reasons, for genetics, past, present. What your parents fed you growing up and what sports they had you in whenever at a time in your life when you didn't have any control or any knowledge on this, it can affect you now.
Right.
And some ways that's fortunate, in some ways that's unfortunate, but you have to start controlling the controllables now. In genetics, some people are more predisposed to be overweight.
Some people are taller than others.
Some people are taller.
So
some people are, I know for sure, you can go online and look at the three main different body types. There's a type that's more short and less lean, all the way up to a very tall, very lean individual with narrow hips, narrow shoulders. And that's just genetic makeup.
Yeah. And there's everything in between. I think a big one, speaking of past, that a lot of people overlook. Remember when we were kids?
Yeah.
Open pantry, all the snacks you want. Oatmeal cream pies, Rice Krispie treats everywhere, zero limitations.
If you felt like it, you'd go grab something. So Granny's cooking, it tasted good, but was it healthy?
Yeah. No.
No.
Yeah, but the point is that affects us as adults.
Yeah, there's some people that grew up with that mind, like their parents grew up with that type of clear the plate mindset. Like you have to clear the plate and that's it. And so now they grow up and they think the exact same thing, and they have
to clean everything off.
And they struggle with portion control and things like that.
So that's right. And it's not an excuse. So make sure. There's always a flip side to everything, right?
Right.
This is not an excuse to go binge out on cookies.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had a bunch of cookies when I was a kid, so now I'm going to have a bunch of cookies.
I'm going to have a bunch of cookies now 15 years later.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. But the point is, from the psychology of the whole thing, it's going to be a little bit tougher for you. So just because, cutting out cookies completely and all sweets, all sugar worked for one person, it might not work for you.
Yeah. So let's wrap this topic up by saying you might not always like it. And I want to follow that with this. Whether or not you like it or whether or not you take ownership of we're going to use the word ailments for lack of a better word right now. Whether or not you take ownership of them and just say, hey, I was raised this way. These are my genetics. they're still going to affect you whether or not you like them.
They are what they are. That goes
what-
right back to the title. Fitness is fair.
Fitness is fair.
Yep.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And some people that's good, some people that's bad. And if you're like me, it's probably neutral. I would say Phil's probably more predisposed to be less lean, to be, just based off growing up with you and knowing how you've changed over the years. I would say that, and generally speaking, you have to work harder than your average naturally lean person to stay lean. Would you say that that's based off of your genetics?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't use that as an excuse to be a slob
Sure.
or anything.
Yeah, obviously not.
But it is very, I do feel that way.
Yep.
And I often have to battle myself of anger because of that. And that's definitely something that I have to deal with on a pretty regular basis. I get angry about that.
Yeah. Don't have to like it, but
it is what it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Next one. Allow this fact to help you use outcome-based decision making. And Phil, this is your thing that you talk about. So I'm gonna let you go on a little bit about outcome-based decision making, and then we'll dive into these little subtopics here.
It basically comes back to what you just said. No matter what, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So you can do a couple of things here. You can do, like I just said, you can let it make you mad, get all pissed off,
make excuses,
give up and never try again. Or you can accept it for what it is, do something about it, and actually see a change.
Sure.
And use the outcome to make your future decisions.
Right.
If you know it doesn't work, don't keep trying it.
Sure.
Right. But once again, I know I've done this for every single topic we've had today, but there is a flip side to that. You actually have to do it for long enough to see results as well. And usually about 2 to 4 weeks is a good time period for most
I'd say
things.
a solid month.
Yeah.
To really understand if it's working and what it's doing for you. You got to put I usually tell people 4 to 6 weeks, but I think within 4 weeks, if you do something consecutively for 4 weeks, if it works or doesn't work, or at least how it makes you feel.
Right.
Right. And like you said, you have to commit to it for longer than 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. You go, oh, well, it's not working. Well,
you're still learning how to use it.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is,
It kind of goes
trying to
back,
figure it out.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to, deep down that not really.
Right. Mostly what I'm getting at here is if you've been trying something for years.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work
for you.
It's not a sustainable lifestyle for you.
For you. It may have worked for someone else. You might see someone online, your friends, family might have told you, hey, you got to do this keto thing. It's the only thing that works. No, that's just the thing that worked for them.
Yeah.
You might find something else that works for you, and that might work miserably for you.
So I've seen both sides of that coin. I'm not going to say either one of these guys' names, but I personally know multiple people who have done a keto diet or attempted. I know one personally that had amazing results. He went from, I would say, morbidly obese, most likely, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but to in fairly good shape. I would call him healthy, in a year, probably, I think he lost 200 plus pounds.
Wow.
And then there's another guy that I know that's been talking about doing keto and how keto is going to work for him and how it's going to get him in this shape for multiple years. And he's never actually committed to it for long enough. He's never actually been in ketosis. It's not that keto doesn't work. It's that keto is not sustainable in his lifestyle.
That's right.
The lifestyle that he lives, and he's not real with himself. So there's kind of both dynamics to what you were just talking about.
Yeah. And what this guy needs to do is try something different.
Yeah.
Find what does work and really double down on that thing.
Yeah. Process of elimination.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And because we know that each one is what it is, and it's not lying to us about whether it works or not, if you're actually following through, you can use that process of elimination because you're using outcome-based decision making. Doesn't work, won't. All right, moving on. Doesn't work, moving on. Ooh, this thing works. It worked a little bit. Let me double down on it and really keep moving forward and keep trying this thing.
Sure.
And now we got results.
I'm going to tie all this very bottom all together. And the bullet point is, if something does work for you, consider doubling down on that commitment. If something doesn't work for you, you have to change course, and don't let somebody else talk you out of either one of those.
Yes.
Don't let somebody say, well, Phil, why are you doing this? I did keto and I lost 200 pounds. You should be doing that. Or, I've seen somebody doing what you're doing and it didn't work for them. Doesn't matter. You got to start eliminating stuff. You got to start somewhere, right? And who knows, maybe the first thing you try works. Maybe. And you double down on that and you get down and you're losing weight, you're gaining muscle, whatever it is you want to do. Maybe so. Probably not. Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to tweak. You're going to have to pivot along the way. But if it's not working, change course. If it is working, double down. Don't let anybody else talk you out of that.
What came to my mind when you mentioned that is when other people get involved. You've probably heard this, like in the real estate world, they call it, or just in entrepreneurship in general, investments, they call it shiny object syndrome.
Shiny object syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're doing something. It's working pretty good. You see somebody, got to do this thing. Got to do this thing. Got to try this thing.
Yep.
No,
you're all over the place.
Yeah, and then you're not doing anything. You're half-assed doing three things, or third-assed doing three things. And never doing 100% of one thing.
Yeah,
you want 100% ass everything. You don't want to third-ass anything around here.
I call it building bridges. Right, so you're on an island. This is applicable in business, personal life, real estate, weight loss. Let's just take weight loss for example. You're stuck on an island. And that is overweight island, right? Just whatever. If you're somebody who's overweight.
That definitely sounds like a reality show about losing weight.
Next week on Overweight Island. So overweight island, right? And you want to be on
Fit Island.
Mainland fit, right? Fitness of the mainland.
Okay, there you go.
Right? That's what you want to do. So if this is your goal, and you have to start to build a bridge over that water, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just pretend boats don't exist. So you got to build that bridge. Well, you want to be able to go back and forth freely at any time, right? So the point is you got to start building that bridge, and it's not going to happen overnight. And the shiny object syndrome is, oh man, I've started to build this bridge and I'm a quarter of the way there. And then I see Sean doing something else and he's a little further along than me. He's got 20 extra feet on my bridge. So I stop and I go start doing what Sean's doing. Well, now you got a quarter built bridge and you start on a new one. And then that one gets between a quarter and a half. And Phil lost 100 pounds. Well, I'm going to go do that. And so you switch. Now you got two partially built bridges and you're over here building another bridge. Mm-hmm. Focus on your damn bridge, on your first bridge.
Bridge number one.
Mm-hmm. Get there, get to your destination. And it's the same thing with investing, right? It's the same thing with financial freedom. If you're investing in something and it's working, they say, the average entrepreneur needs to have 7 streams of income eventually. But I think you got to get that one to get you there that you can take that money and reinvest it into something else. Get that working. That's your next bridge. Mm-hmm. And then you got 7 bridges. You can go back and forth all you want, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, you keep stacking up the money, reinvesting, right? And it's applicable to pretty much anything. Whatever island you're trying to get off of, poor person island, overweight island, whatever it is, alcoholism island, build your bridge to get off of it.
Get to the mainland of salvation, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, whatever that is for you.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is for you.
Yeah, I think, the building the bridge analogy is super important. And I think it's just to tie it all, just to the main title, how fitness is fair and how self-improvement is fair. If you're putting in that work to build that bridge, every day you're going in, hammering your planks down, putting the rods up and everything, every single day. It's not like progress isn't going to be made. So if you're going to the gym every day, or I mean, not every day, like 3 times a day, me and Phil were talking about it earlier. And I was like, man, some people hadn't done anything physical all week or all month or all year. And then they're just like, oh, I can't go to the gym. I don't want to do all that. I'm not going to be able to look like, top 5 Olympian or whatever, so I'm not going to do it. And it's like, well, I mean, it's fair. If you were to go and you go 3 times a week, you're going to see some type of progress, some type of difference.
I want to leave you with one last thought on progress. Mm-hmm. So progress is, everybody looks at it one-sided. So, if you're moving forward and getting closer to your goal physically, okay, you're making progress. Well, let me also say that truly committing to something and eliminating it and saying, okay, this does not work for me, that's progress as well. Because that's one thing crossed off the list and you can go try another thing. and that thing could get you there. Maybe not. You cross that off the list. You still made progress because now you know X and Y don't work. Let's try Z, right?
Because something is going to work.
Something's going to work.
So from what you're just saying, what I got out of that is each time something doesn't work, instead of letting that get you down, let it raise your confidence about the next thing.
Say, okay,
because one of these is going to work.
I know that these 2 or 3 things don't work. Now let's try this and go after it. Truly go after it. I go after all of them truly.
Right.
And if they don't fit your lifestyle and they don't work for you, move on to the next one. That's progress as well.
Yep. So stay optimistic. I think that's very important. And yeah, it's every time you eliminate something that doesn't work, that's fine. Put it behind you. Don't let it make you feel bad. Don't let anybody else make you feel bad for not doing it, especially if it's the thing that they did.
And try to learn something from it too.
Yeah.
There's a learning experience in everything. So it's just
that's right.
You can always learn something new.
Yeah. Move on to the
even
next
if it doesn't
thing.
work.
Yeah.
And just keep trucking forward.
Guys, listen, start controlling the controllables, checking things off the list, and don't let anybody else talk you out of your goals because your goals are unique to you. What your aspirations are unique to you and may not make sense to somebody else. And that's okay. Don't let them talk you out of it. Fitness is fair. You're going to get out what you put in, y'all.
Build your bridge.
Build your bridge. What you got, Sean?
Man, nothing really.
Build your bridge. This is an OG Sean topic, everybody. Subscribe, follow Sean at Sean Wisdom.
Yeah, follow Daryl at OTG Daryl.
OTG Phil.
Easy stuff.
There we go.
All right, y'all. We're out. See you in the next one.
Peace out, y'all. "21 minutes.
Nice.
Banger.